Hello, good morning. Well, it's still morning here in South Carolina where I am. Welcome to my channel, Four Seasons Apothecary or Four Seasons Wellness. I am sweating, just coming back from outside, harvesting some beautiful mullein from our garden. And so I figured I would show you how I harvested it and also show you how I tincture it as well. I'm pretty sure many of you, and excuse my voice, there was like a summer cold kind of running through our house and it got mom, so I'm still a little stuffy, but I'm feeling better. But I figured I'd just kind of show you what it looks like first. So if you can kind of see, try not to get too close. But the leaves look like this. They are very bright green color. And they're also very, very fuzzy. And this is what they look like on the back. So if you ever notice mullein or it's in your view, it's very easy to tell what it is. Lots of people have this growing in their yard. They consider it a weed. They just knock it down or either cut it down, because once mullein kind of starts growing, it just grows wild and it grows everywhere. It literally takes over your entire yard. So this is kind of what it looks like. And I harvested several pieces because I noticed that I am getting low on the mullein tincture that I sell in my shop. So I said, hey, you know what? That mullein plant out there is sprouting up pretty high, because mullein can grow to be about like 10 feet tall, and it's at about, I'd say 7 feet. So I went ahead and harvested some. Gonna tincture it for you guys, kind of show you what that tincturing process looks like. It is super easy to do. I am going to be using a half-gallon jar. You do not have to use a half-gallon jug if you only have a quart. If you have one smaller than that, if you're new to herbalism, you're kind of just starting out and you're just wanting to experiment, all you really need is just one leaf like this to make a tincture in a small jar. So this is what I'll be using. I use 100 proof vodka as my solvent. One second. So this is the vodka of my choice that I use, 100 proof vodka, and look at that, the price is still on there. Can't you tell that this is my first video? So about 20 bucks. But yeah, this is what I'm gonna use. All you need is mullein, the jar, the lid, and the vodka. Now, there's like lots of information surfacing out there that, nowadays, especially if you're using alcohol, you really only need like about 2 weeks for your tinctures to macerate. I still use the general rule of thumb, what I have been taught to use, what I have studied to use, and that's about 4 to 6 weeks. These plants, and mostly all plants and herbs, they all contain beneficial compounds. And in my opinion, in order to extract those compounds, I think they need a little longer than 2 weeks. But hey, if you would rather go with the 2 week time frame, do whatever floats your boat. I do about 4 to 6 weeks. That's what I do. What this is good for. Mullein has been so helpful to my family, specifically when our now 4-year-old, soon to be 5-year-old daughter, when she was about 1.5 or 2, she would just constantly get croup, especially with this croup cough. Just wake up in the middle of the night with like this dog barking cough. I never had to take her to the hospital, and this is not to say that there's anything wrong with the hospital, but I never took her to the doctor just because this was a powerhouse for her. Whenever you're dealing with anything like croup or anything like that, that's an indication that the lungs need moisture and that they're dry. And that is exactly what mullein does. It provides the moisture that your upper respiratory and your lungs need. So I used to make an infusion. because I wanted to kind of like tackle it. To me, an infusion, well, an infusion actually is a bit stronger than a tea, but you can definitely use the tea. Not saying that you can't to treat something like croup. My preference was just to use or make an infusion, and I would make an infusion using this half-gallon jug here. And I'm not going to go into like great detail in this video about what an infusion is, because that's another video that'll take a little bit longer, and I'd like to kind of show you the ins and outs of why you use what you use, specific measurements, things like that. But just know that an infusion is just a longer brewed tea. And then a tea typically is steeped anywhere from about 3 to 5 minutes, maybe 5 to 7. So I used to do an infusion for her. Within like a couple of hours of her drinking that mullein infusion, and all it took was a little bit, it turned that dry croup cough into a wet, productive cough. And she was fine. You know, there were some times where it was a little harsher than other times, and you know, I would have to take her outside in the cool air to let her breathe in the cool air. But other than that, the mullein really did its job. You know, aside from the upper respiratory benefits and the benefits of the lung, you can also use this like as a poultice, because mullein is great for inflammation. So you can use it topically as well. They also, when they sprout up, and I'm sorry I didn't bring it in here with me, but what I might do towards the end of this video is just kind of show you. But they sprout up with these little sprigs, kind of like that long, and they have these beautiful yellow flowers on them. Lots of people, they use those yellow flowers to make an ear oil. I have never really experimented with those yellow flowers because I just use the mullein and the garlic to make an ear oil. I don't use fresh mullein to make the ear oil because it needs to be dry, because of course, as you know, oil and water don't mix, and fresh plants do contain a certain amount of water content. That's why I use it fresh mullein for our tinctures, because you have the water content in here, 50% water, 50% alcohol. So yeah, you can use it for ear infections. It has been a powerhouse for that. Anytime anyone in my home has had an ear infection or an earache, I just pull out the mullein garlic ear oil. Typically within 24 hours, they're good to go. Those stalks that I was telling you about that has those yellow flowers on them, once the plant goes to seed and goes to harvest, you can also use that and dip it in beeswax, and they can be made into candles. A lot of people used to use them as candles back in the day. And then just make sure that you get the seeds from out of the seed pods before you do that, because those seeds, you can replant them to have a beautiful mullein garden if that's what you'd like to have. So that's what we're gonna do today. So enough chit chatter about mullein, what it does, what it looks like. And like I said, I'll do a more in-depth video of an infusion, specifically like a mullein infusion or a nettle infusion. So what we're going to do here is we're going to, and I've already cleaned this off, but you know, if you want to take something like a wet paper towel or even a dry one and just kind of run it across there like that, just to get any additional debris off of the plant that you see on there, or any bugs or anything like that before you start to tincture it. Feel free to do that, but I was outside kind of knocking them off, trying to get everything off as I could. So I believe they are pretty clean and they are good to go. Just a regular pair of scissors. That's what we have here. That's it. And Just gonna give them a rough chop. Doesn't have to be perfect. Just keep chopping them up in there. And I hope that I harvested enough to fill this whole jar. If I didn't, then I'll have to go back in the garden and get more. I am so sorry about my voice. Like, oh gosh. These summer colds, or just a cold in general, just does the worst. It's already hot outside here where I am in South Carolina. And then when you're coming off the tail end of a cold, then you're sweating everything out. So that just makes it even worse. And sometimes when you're harvesting mullein, you may want to wear like a pair of gloves. It doesn't bother me anymore, but in the beginning it used to, because of the fuzzy little hairs on mullein. They can kind of irritate your skin a little bit. So, you may want to wear just some gloves if you don't want to be irritated by the skin. It's not that it's gonna like sting or anything like that. Whoops. So we got it almost full, but I think I'm gonna go get some more. Okay, so I did not film the part where I was just pouring the vodka in the jar because my baby woke up, but that's pretty self-explanatory. But this entire thing of vodka almost filled this whole jar up. There's a little left in it, about that much, but like in about 3 or 4 days, the plant is going to kind of soak a little bit of that up. So I'm just going to use the remainder of that just to kind of tip it off. So actually, I think this needs just a little more in here. Yep, perfect. Because you want to make sure all of the plant is covered. You know what? I might as well just use the rest of this. Perfect. It's like that much left. And then I put the lid on there. That's it. Always, always, whatever you do, label your tinctures or whatever you are making. Because I can promise you, as an herbalist now for about 6 years, no matter how well you think you know those plants, honey, you go and you put this in your apothecary or you put this in the cabinet with some other things, you might know what the mullein is because, I mean, it's bright green. But let's say something like nettle, you don't put a label on that thing, and then you go back and look at it like maybe 2 or 3 weeks later or like a month later. Or if you like me, look, I have 3 kids. I have a lot going on. You go to pull that thing out of the cupboard and you're like, what is this? I don't even remember. Please, just put a label on it. Get some Scotch tape, whatever you want, just put a label on it. It doesn't have to be fancy, and just put the date on it. And this is it. So I will let this macerate for about 4 to 5 weeks, maybe 6, I don't know, because I'll probably forget. Then I'll strain it, and I bottle them up to sell in my shop in 1 ounce tincture bottles. So this is a great time to start this now in preparation for your fall and your winter medicine so that you have it when you need it. Better to have it than need it, than you know how the saying goes. So I'll just put this in the cupboard, and then that's it. And that's how you make your mullein tincture. So a little bit about me. My name is Jamila. I'm an herbalist, the owner of 4 Seasons Apothecary. I'm also on TikTok, I'm on Instagram, and I am on Facebook. I had been on YouTube for a while, been kind of hesitant to start this channel, what kind of content to put out, what not to put out, just totally overthinking it. And today I just got to get up and go to do something while my baby was napping. So that's exactly what I did. I don't have a particular schedule of when I'll be posting videos because I would hate to say that you can expect videos from me on such and such a date or this many times a week. Because that's just not feasible for my lifestyle. Like I said, I'm a mom of 3. We homeschool. There's a lot going on. So I will, do a video. I'm not going to say I'm going to space it out. Like you'll see a video from me like once every 2 months. But I'll try to keep them as short as possible. I don't want to make them too long. But yep, that's a little bit about me. Feel free to go on my social medias, scroll, take a look at my website, and I'll see y'all next time. Bye.